Hey, young girl, we are back with a new episode this week. I want to start by saying thank you to who all have been watching, listening, sharing, commenting on the podcast. We can be found on Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, Instagram, or wherever you listen to your podcast. Search for Hey Young Girl. And again, thank you. So today I want to talk about not letting people trick you out your spot. There's a lot of times where you are attempting to grow, attempting to unlearn a lot of things that put you in a bad situation by the choices that you made, or a snap decision, or how they say crashing out and things like that. So I'm just here to tell you to try to you know have a little bit of more self-control. Try to observe your surroundings, and be on point to where you see somebody attempting to hit something in you that could provoke you, and cause you to act out of character and things like that. One simple move can change your whole life, the whole trajectory. So it really involves you choosing the correct company to be around. If you are trying to go straight and narrow, try to live with integrity and things like that, you probably shouldn't be hanging around people that does not believe in those same things, right? Because you could easily get coerced, peer pressure and things like that, if you're not a strong minded person, into doing some of the things that you don't find comfortable or that you really don't want to do. But you want to go along to get along, so you go ahead and do it. Maybe you're in a position at work and somebody is asking you to, do them a favor, do something like this. Nobody ain't gonna know, you have the codes and things like that. You can tap into that. Nobody's not gonna know. But you'll know, you know what I'm saying? God will know what you did. But most of the times, the truth ended up come to the light. And you didn't sabotage yourself, your job, your way of making money for somebody that probably don't have that same ambition, not getting up and going to work every day, but you just self-sabotage yourself to help them, right? That's what I mean when I say don't get tricked out of your spot. Like, you are in a maybe a position to where you want to upgrade at work, right? You want to be a manager or whatever, get a pay increase, but you start coming to work late because you've been there a while, right? You start coming to work late, taking longer lunches, not coming in a dress code, not having good customer service, things like that. That is another way you didn't put in the time, you didn't show that you are a good, dependable, employee, right? That is probably due for a raise or due for another role within the facility, but you started slacking. And guess what? Somebody came in with a stronger resume and got that position over you, kind of tricked you out your spot. Or someone from your past or whatnot may know you as that person that lost their temper, didn't have self control, were easily, emotionally triggered to where you're crying and you're all upset, and now you're off track and you're distracted from what your goals are. Why? Because you allow somebody that, you know, they don't have nothing to lose, and they come in and triggered you, and you let your pride or your ego tempt you in a way that you felt like you were disrespected or whatnot, that made you lash out, and maybe you were provoked to where you strike that person. And now what? You may have a whole charge, you may have had your hair ripped out, you might have had your face sliced, whatever. And just because you didn't want to walk away or didn't want to look like you were getting played or whatnot, and now you're in jail, you got a record or whatever, and maybe you were a person that was about to get a scholarship or whatnot, and because you had this big fight, or whatever the disciplinary action was for this thing that you did, out of lack of self-control, you now got tricked out of your spot. You got your scholarship taken away. You may have got put out of school or whatever. So, try to develop tools or get educated with the tools, or be by yourself to where you can learn a little bit self control and not let your ego or your pride get in the way of your goals in life. Sometimes you do have to take stuff on the chin, or, maybe, not handling the way that you used to, that got you either fired, kicked out, and you was in the mindset, I don't care, that I get me another job. But how many times you're going to keep saying that? You would like a little stability in your life, right? Want to be able to pay your bills and things like that. Don't get tricked out of your spot, y'all. All right, and I'll see you next week. Bye.